Hello, everybody. Welcome to Turn-Based Memories. What we do on this podcast is compare our experiences. A guy who played an RPG a long time ago has another guy play that game for the first time, and then we compare experiences. For today's episode, I, the legendary Zoltan, played a JRPG called Resonance of Fate a long time ago. So I'm going to tell you all about what the game is, why I liked it so much, and see if I can predict what my co-host Mel thinks about it now that he has finished it for the first time. Then Mel will come on the show and I'll ask him for his opinions. So that's what we're going to do. No random ass, what have you been playing sections. No random ass tangents about the MCU. There are no random asses. Just, what is the game? What did I think? What does Mel think? Let's get started. Resonance of Fate is a turn-based Japanese RPG for the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 that came out in early 2010. So we got a 10-year-old game here. In 2018, a 4K remaster was released, and that is the version Mel has played. I have also replayed the remastered version on the PS4. This game was developed by Tri-Ace, the creators of Star Ocean and Valkyria Profile. Tri-Ace excel at progression systems and battle systems, and once again, that is what shines brightest in Resonance of Fate as well. I'm not here to do an in-depth full critique of the game, but let me tell you what this game is like so that you can understand what Mel has gotten himself into. This is a JRPG that is unconventional in almost every way. There are no melee weapons. All of your characters use guns. There is no list of abilities that require magic points to use. The only parameters that increase with your character level are hit points and how much weight you can carry. You can't walk freely on the world map until you unlock a bunch of Tetris piece-shaped areas with items dropped by enemies. And I guess that's about it, actually. It still has you controlling a party of characters that level up, customize their weapons, do fetch quests, and take on the leaders of the world. The most important and most unique aspect is the battle system. You have handguns and machine guns. Handguns deal very little damage. Machine guns deal lots of damage, but it's fake damage, if you will. It's called scratch damage in the game, and instead of actually depleting your enemy's HP bar, it just changes its color to blue. But then if you shoot that same enemy with a handgun, all the blue part of the HP bar gets depleted. In other words, all the scratch damage gets converted into actual damage, or, as it is called in the game, direct damage. Deplete all the enemy's HP with direct damage, and you win! You also have a gauge called the Hero Gauge. As long as you have at least one unit of the Hero Gauge full, all damage that enemies do to you will be scratch damage. But if you lose your entire HP gauge, if your entire HP gauge gets turned blue with scratch damage, you use a number of Hero Gauge units to erase the scratch damage. And the more HP you have, the more hero units get consumed. If you lose your entire hero gauge, your characters will enter panic mode, and all damage they receive will be direct damage. If one character loses their HP with direct damage, it's game over. When it's a character's turn, they can attack with their gun and unload the entire bullet clip. Your aiming time is limited, though. The better your character can aim, the more effective your attack. This is where the gun customization comes in. You can put scopes and hand grips on your gun to aim faster and get a better attack. You can also add barrels to make the bullets fly straighter so that none of them miss the enemy. And you can get bigger bullet clips to shoot more bullets per attack, improving damage. That is the battle system and customization system in as few words as possible. What do I think about all this? It's kind of amazing. It's fully turn-based, but it's full of crazy action. Your dudes can shoot while running, jump and shoot in midair while doing impossible flips, and you can even have all three characters run in circles around the enemy, have one person light them on fire with a Molotov cocktail, have the next person shoot him with so many bullets that he goes flying into the air while on fire, and have the third person already in midair shoot him back down to the ground. And it manages to give you full control over all of this with very little skill in timing your button presses required. And no relying on AI-controlled party members either. Bravo, try Ace. Admittedly, it gets repetitive after a while because the strategy for most battles is the same. Just run in with a machine gun and scratch damage the hell out of an enemy, then run in with a handgun and turn it all into direct damage. Repeat until all enemies are dead. It makes 100%ing this game goddamn brutal, because to complete the arena, you have to fight 500 battles, and you have to kill each enemy individually. But just going through the main story, it never got old for me. And if you don't grind, you will need to use some additional tools like special machine gun bullets. Speaking of the main story, it's a trip, yo. I found it really intriguing, but they don't explain a lot of things. We know that 1,000 years ago or so, humans built this huge tower called Basel to escape from some kind of cancer-causing pollution on the Earth's surface. We know that the people who live in the tower have their life linked to a piece of quartz. And if their quartz breaks, they die. There is a huge machine called Zenith at the top of the tower, and that thing decides when to break whose quartz. This allows people to sometimes live through certain death situations because Zenith might decide it's not time to break your quartz, even if you, say, got shot in the head. A religion formed within the tower, and the cardinals of that religion somehow became the privileged class that lives in the highest and most expensive area in the tower, called Chandelier. The highest position in the religion is called the prelate, which is like the pope. The most recent prelate was a woman named Frida. Her message of wanting people to live freely and create their own fates resonated with people, and she was beloved by commoner and cardinal alike. But then she died, and then the cardinal that loved her the most, Rowan, could not handle it, and he became obsessed with trying to bring her back to life. Then we have Cardinal Sullivan, who we find out is doing an experiment where he breaks one quartz a year for 20 years. All this stuff is super interesting, but you have to go to the internet for answers. Why is Sullivan breaking one quartz per year? He has a little girl with him that has demon wings and drinks blood. Who the hell is she? Cardinal Rowan has a female friend who cares for him. I assume she is a cardinal too, but what is her role in all of this? She never ends up doing anything. Why was the 20th quartz never shattered? Why does our party member Zephyr go on a killing spree in an orphanage? There are lots of questions one could think of, and I wonder if Mel will be as interested in all of this as I was. The music is an interesting combo. We got Motoi Sakuraba doing his signature prog rock for dungeon music, and we have Kohei Tanaka doing orchestral music. That's right. The same guy that composed the greatest Zelda game of all time and one of the most famous animes of all time did music for Resonance of Fate with Motoi Sakuraba. It blows my mind, man. Interesting combination of star power aside, I don't personally have many standout musical moments. We'll see if Mel had any. Lastly, the art and graphics. The Tower of Basel has a unique clockwork design full of gears that are moving as you walk by. There is a lot of detail in all areas, but especially in your town. You can see countless tower components passing you by in the background. The game is mostly gray. There are a lot of different clothes you can put on your characters, but the color saturation is still noticeably low, so that nothing really pops out. It's an artistic choice, but I would have loved a graphical filter option like they had in the PS4 remake of Shadow of the Colossus. I know it wasn't the artist's original intention, but I always set that thing to vivid. When you put together the crazy story, the unique battle system, the design of the tower, the combination of orchestral and progressive rock, the guns, the comedic moments, and the too cool to be true main character, Vacheron, it creates an unforgettable experience. Lots of people out there I'm sorry. It creates an unforgettable experience. Lots of people out there don't care for this game, but I bet they all remember what it was like. Now let's predict what Mel thinks. I think Mel will be into the world. He likes dark stuff, so all the gray areas will probably be fine with him. I think he will not care about the story as much as I did. I read wikis and stuff to find out all that I could about it, but I doubt he wants to do that. When I ask him about it, he'll probably be like, I don't know. Mel's whole deal is interesting turn-based combat, so that's where he'll really gush about the game. That and the gun customization system. I'm going to guess he put at least 5 scopes on his machine guns. He'll probably refer to the music as, quote, serviceable. And he will use the exact phrase, he's pretty cool, when describing Vacheron. He probably won't be all goo goo gaga over him like I was. So let's see if my predictions are correct. Now, and bring on Mel for some questions and answers. Welcome, everyone, to our second, much longer segment, the main segment. This is where I am going to ask my co-host Mel a whole bunch of questions about what he thought of Resonance of Fate now that he's beaten it for the first time. How's it going, Mel?
Oh, hey, Zoltan, there you are. It's been a while.
Yeah, I guess it has.
Been a little while. Yeah, beat it for the first time, not that long, couple weeks prior to this recording.
Cool. So you had a little bit of prior experience before this playthrough, right?
True. When this came out originally on the PS3, oh, God, when was that? That was
10 years ago? 10 years ago.
God almighty. Yeah, I remember liking this game a lot. And this was, like, right at that point in my life where I was like, I don't have time to, like, fully finish every damn game I buy. And it was, like, one of the first games that I always thought about in the back of my mind, like, oh, yeah, Resonance of Fate. I never finished it. I never actually even got that far either.
The game was 16 chapters. Do you know roughly what chapter or how many hours you played into it?
I don't know. I want to say probably not past chapter 5 or 6.
Okay, so you've only seen like a third.
I had only seen about a third of the game. I got caught up because I found a money, loop, I guess you could call it. It's like a glitch or an oversight where there's a vendor who sells an item that another vendor buys it for more. So I did that and that and that and that. And then that was actually, I don't know why I did that, but on my first playthrough, but then I never went on to finish the game.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and then it came out, as we all know, it came out on PS4 and PC as a remastered version.
Yeah, I think they patched out that thing, by the way, that loop.
I figured they would. I didn't even bother to look up exactly what the trade was because I didn't want to do it. I was like, I think that's just going to ruin the game for me, so I didn't even bother to look it up. And yeah, I definitely found myself wondering why back then, when I had way more free time, why did I not finish this game? It's really good.
Okay, so there's some foreshadowing.
There's some foreshadowing.
It's good. Okay, so I'm going to start with the art and the graphics. So,
all right.
First, I wanted you to describe to me what you saw when you looked at the world and the tower.
Oh boy! So this is we're probably diving right into my favorite part of this game. Looking at it. Looking at it from not a technical sense necessarily of, wow, this game's got the best graphics, but more like I love the concept of this world. I love how it doesn't fucking make any sense also, but I like the idea of it, where everyone just lives on top of these like ridiculous spinning gears and all these like weird bridges going everywhere. Yeah. It's all like they're inside a giant pocket watch.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But I really, really like it.
A character in the game actually describes it as like a clockwork tower.
I mean, that is what it is. I mean, it's like that exactly. And, there's gears spinning around, flywheels everywhere, and every type of gear that you've ever known to exist is in some frame. And the camera for most of I think in every town, is from a fixed perspective.
Yes.
So every town has this very sort of artistic look to it where it's like this is angled exactly the way the developer wants, and all these things are exactly in frame the way they want to make it look good. And if you like put a cheat on this game and move the camera just a little bit, it would all look horrible.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Probably because there's nothing there, or it just doesn't line up well, or whatever it is.
Yeah, they planned it all out.
So it's interesting in a way. But even back then, I remember just like stopping what I was doing to just kind of absorb the scenery of every town.
Yeah, the first town is my favorite one because it has the most gears and stuff. And you walk from your house to the left, basically like a side scroll, just straight to the left, and like the scene goes by behind you, and you can see all these rafters and iron bars and gears, and like, whoa, they put some work into that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of visual scenery in certainly the first town, but in most of the other like primary places that you visit as well. I really like it. And even the overworld map has got a lot of that going on. The sort of general look, because you can pan the camera all around and see like all kinds of cool shit. So I really do like the visuals, and on a technical level, it holds up well enough. Like the remaster upscales really nicely, and the character models definitely look like PS3 character models, but it's not bad.
Did you play in 4K or 1080?
So I actually did chomp 80 gigabytes of my hard drive with the 4K thing. Not that I have a 4K monitor, so I'm not really sure why I did it, but
it should look differently, though,
right? I guess it looked a little, but I kind of regret because then I had to delete some other stuff and it was kind of inconvenient. But not enough to warrant having sucked up that much of my hard drive.
Yeah. How about what did you think of the graphics in like the opening cinemas? There are like 3 or 4 opening cinema scenes that you can watch.
Yeah. Those are like kind of a relic now, because those are like a totally different graphical engine with like really fluid, sort of weird looking character hair, and it's like those PS2 days where it's like this character in this scene kind of almost doesn't look like the character in the game itself.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that weird sort of do it like, oh, is this what he's really supposed to look like?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not to such an extreme degree, but the CGI in this game is a little jarring. It's a little disjointed in a way.
Well, there's not that much of it. It's just in the opening, right?
It's in the opening, and I want to say, aren't there a couple scenes in the middle of the game, or I'm imagining that? Probably imagining that.
I don't think there were any CGI scenes in the middle of the game. Just opening
There's
and
one
ending,
at the
I
end.
think. Yeah.
There's one at the very end.
Like during the ending, you mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think before you beat the game, I don't think there are any FMV, pre-rendered sequences.
No, I think you're right. You're right.
Yeah. So just in the beginning. Yeah, I always thought Troy had really, really awesome artists. I didn't check who the artists were this time. I should have probably. But, ever since Star Ocean days and Valkyrie Profile days, if you like the whole, I know I love this, the whole moving in a 2D fashion, like to the left in that first town and seeing everything go by, Valkyrie Profile is the game for you, man, because every dungeon is like that too.
Yeah. That is cool. And I guess since, we brought it up, and I'm sure you brought it up in your intro as well, is that this is a Tri-Ace game.
Yes.
And they're kind of known for this kind of particular world design.
Are they?
I think. Like, not gimmick is like a bad word, but like a world design that has like a motif, like a really strong, overarching like theme.
I guess
right?
so. Well, what games are you thinking of?
Kaitos, right? Wasn't that them?
Those were Tri-Crescendo games.
Oh, I always
which
get
is
them
similar, but yeah. Tri-Crescendo has Baten Kaitos and also, what's that other game that I love by them? Eternal Sonata, which, man, the whole musical theme in that one. The graphics are like the greatest thing in that game. Yeah, so I see what you're saying. It's probably some of the same artists. I haven't checked who all the same members are between Tri Crescendo and Tri Ace are, but this was just Tri Ace though, and their other games were just Star Ocean and Valkyrie Profile, which Valkyrie Profile has Norse themes, I suppose, but I don't know. It's pretty far off of the Norse themes. It's just the character names and rough links to the Norse mythology. Really, I always thought the world was kind of a standout, a little bit different than real Norse mythology, I would imagine, because they make it look kind of beautiful. I imagine Norse mythology is actually more dark than that. I don't know though. But yeah, so that's the world, and most of the dungeons, they all they're in this clockwork world tower. So they also all kind of have a look to them where there's like the ice world, but then it doesn't really look natural, right?
No, that's the part that kind of breaks it for me a little bit. Like, I like the idea and the theme, but they also try to have like, well, here's the ice biome. I'm like, aren't we on like a giant machine? Why is there like an ice world?
Well, so it's called the Alchemist's Closet or something
like that.
Or inside of there.
Well, why? But it all looks like it was a disaster or something. Like, people used to live here, and then something happened.
I don't know. One of the cardinals, Cardinal Barbarella, the sexy one, I believe. She asks you to go there to pick up some cold medicine, which she intentionally, like some meat or something that she intentionally keeps in that area as though it is her personal freezer.
Right.
It's like, I wonder, did she like make that area her freezer?
I don't know. So the way, maybe we're jumping the gun a little bit. The way that, from what I understand, the concept of the world is that for whatever reason that they built the tower, they kept having to build it higher and higher and higher, and the upper class kept moving further and further up, and the lower levels of the tower got worse and worse and worse. And they used to be nice, and they kind of got like degraded, and so you have like the lowest of the low class at the bottom, which is all a bunch of ruined, ritzy, nice-looking buildings that are just rubble, literally rubble.
Yeah.
And the further up you go, you have more standing structures, but they're kind of like dilapidated and abandoned, and at the top are just like mansions.
Yeah. I didn't know that detail, that was the reason why. I just knew... I
think it was like they kind of had to keep going, building higher and higher for some reason.
Probably just because, more people wanted to move in, right? But
I think...
I would assume. The reason they built the tower was that some pollution was spreading cancer to all the people in the earth.
Right.
And so this giant tower is supposed to be a giant air purification tower, and that's why people can live here without worrying about it. It's not that they just went up and escaped it. It also prevents diseases, and so nobody ever gets sick or dramatically sick. Although one person does catch a cold in the story. That's kind of funny that can happen, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but there aren't any life-threatening diseases in the tower. Just not naturally, but just innately because of the way they built it.
Yeah.
So, interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. It's a really bold, sort of visually bold, but also sort of conceptually bold concept for a game world. It kind of reminds me of Xenoblade Chronicles.
The first one?
Where Xenoblade, it's just called Xenoblade, the one that was on the Wii.
That was the first one, yeah, it was Xenoblade Chronicles.
Yeah. So that one, where the whole idea is that the game world is built off of two dead giants that killed each other in a sword fight. I'm like, who the fuck comes up with this stuff? It's a crazy idea.
Tetsuya Takahashi comes up with that stuff.
Yeah, I guess so. And that was a cool idea, too. Made about as much sense as this.
Yeah.
But I was willing to overlook it. Also, one of the levels in this game, there's a cave. And again, I was like, how are we in a cave?
Was there a cave? I can't remember that.
Remember the quartz cave or the whatever mines of whatever? How are mines here?
There are
up
several
on a
mines.
Machine.
Well, that comes to part of the story, which I'd like to talk about last because the story is kind of crazy, and I actually went ahead and looked up stuff to learn about it. And I mentioned in my segment that they don't tell you everything in the game.
They must not, because
lots of stuff you don't know, right?
I'm fucking confused.
That's okay. That's what I thought. Okay, yeah. So that's the graphics and the art style. Were you down with the whole gray look of it? Because I kind of wish it had a freaking like saturation increasing option.
I'm not surprised you're saying that, but I didn't actually clue into. You're right. It is very like gray and brown and industrial looking.
Yeah.
I kind of liked it, like especially some of the. I kind of ended up. I only say that I liked it, having not really thought about it, because all the character costumes that I picked were all very like darker, kind of. They fit the tone of the background, and I kind of went with that instead of the brighter color costumes. I think that's just like a color scheme that I like in general.
So I was going to ask you if you bought clothes.
I did, but I didn't change them a whole bunch, because I found a couple
that you liked,
that I really liked, especially for Zephyr with his coat and that A outfit.
Okay.
I really liked on him, and on Leanne, her dress. I kind of like that dress better than like the weird T-shirt thing. Mm-hmm. And on Vacheron,
yeah,
his bee costume I thought was way better than that weird jacket shit he has.
Is that a weird jacket? Shit looked normal to me.
It looked a little too cowboy-y.
It is cowboyish, yeah. He has that vibe.
He definitely has that vibe, and he definitely is just what's his name? The voice actor,
Nolan North.
Nolan North, just doing Nolan North.
I know, right? Yeah, totally normal.
Straight
his voice.
Nathan Drake, like
exactly.
Fucking out of fucking Uncharted.
I know, right?
Is that dude?
Yeah.
With no inflection or any attempt at not sounding like Nathan
himself.
Drake at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, right? It sounded just like him.
But there are a lot of costumes, especially for Leanne.
Yeah.
God almighty, that's all you unlock when you go around the overworld.
Yeah. Well, she's the cute girl. What do you expect, man?
She's a cute girl, yeah, I guess. You gotta have at least 50 headbands for Leanne.
I know, right?
All slightly different colors. But yeah, I enjoyed the little bit of dress up. I like to have every once in a while. I kind of swap out some of the colors, but I did definitely settle on like a round
set
of costumes, and I just kind of left it there because I really liked it.
Yeah, I eventually did that too. I went ahead and in games that you can switch the costumes, like for example, Tales of Vesperia that we played, you could do that. That's the one with Yuri, and you know, I kept thinking like, you know, I have these kind of funny looking costumes. But what are the cutscenes going to look like if we're wearing those? I don't know if I want to do that. But since I played this game before, I went ahead and gave freaking Zephyr a T-shirt with a picture of a giant cheeseburger. And
perfect.
And he's like wearing dark shades as well all the time. And I don't know. Perfect. It kind of didn't mess up anything at all.
No.
So, yeah, I had fun with the clothes too. And I tried to pick, you know, the colorful ones intentionally. But yeah, it's like the saturation is not high in this game. That's just the art style that they chose.
Yep.
So that's cool. Okay. Let's talk music now. Did you notice there were two styles of music?
Two styles.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't notice that there were two distinct styles.
What did you think of the music overall?
Well, so overall,
there's a certain word that I'm expecting you to use. I wonder if you'll use it.
Is it like grungy? Are you looking for that word?
No, that wasn't the word. I thought you were going to say it's serviceable. I thought you were going to say
okay. Or eclectic, I was going to say, because there are some sort of serene orchestral pieces, and then it kind of gets into like a kind of grungy
That's
guitar.
What I'm talking about. So those are the two styles I'm talking about.
Okay.
You may not have known this. Two different musicians, yo.
Ooh. All right. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. And all those guitar songs. Can you imagine who did those?
I'm bad with names. You'll have to tell me.
That's fine. Motoi Sakuraba. He does all the progressive rock songs in games.
Yes.
That's him. Yeah. So he did all those, all the battle songs and stuff. You can just totally tell it's him. But yeah, all the freaking orchestra music and like the ones, I'm pretty sure the ones in like the CGI scenes and like the title screen, I'm pretty sure those were full live orchestras. That's what it sounds like. It does not sound fake at all to me.
It sounds pretty good, especially the opening menu.
Right? That menu sounds awesome, right?
It does.
The title screen, right? Yeah. So
yeah.
Freaking, that's by Kohei Tanaka. And that guy hasn't done that many games, but he did the greatest game of all time, Alundra. And he kicked ass in that game, too. So I'm pretty impressed. This guy's not all that famous, like among Western audiences, I don't think, or among gamers. But I imagine he must be unbelievably famous here in Japan and among just, people who like anime, because he does all the music for everything that is One Piece.
Oh,
which is one of the most famous animes ever made. So
yeah,
right, it must be pretty epic. But he does a really, really awesome job of doing PlayStation 1. We're talking Alundra now. PlayStation 1 hardware orchestra music with Alundra. Like, it sounds pretty good. You can tell what he's going for and stuff, and I really like it. And then you hear like that really freaking professional sounding full orchestra music in the beginning of Resonance of Fate, and then all of a sudden they play that opening song during the opening scene where Vacheron goes to the seminary, and all of a sudden it's freaking Motori Sakuraba, freaking progressive rock. It's like, what?
Yeah. There is. I kind of didn't piece it in my mind, but you're right. There is the town themes in a lot of these towns are very soothing. And especially the like kind of high flying orchestral pieces. Yeah. And every fucking battle theme is so like prog rocky. Yeah, you're right. It's Sekirova. Yeah. So
no standout tracks for you?
I don't.
Not really. No. Right? Yeah.
No. Yeah. Serviceable is the right word for this. I mean it. It's also like there's effort in here for sure, because they on the part of, I guess, I don't know what you would really call it, but like the sort of technical end of it, because whenever you do a hero run, the music kind of changes and ups and turns. Like, yes, it doesn't just get louder. It does more things.
Yeah, it's the same as, for the audience, it's the same as, for example, in Super Mario World. When you're just running through the level, and the moment you jump onto Yoshi's back, all of a sudden drums and stuff start getting added in. And so, they did that with the Final Fantasy VII Remake, that opening area as well, where like when you're walking, you have one music, and then when you enter a battle, it's like that same music, just a more aggressive version of it, which I really like. I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
But yeah, like you said, there's nothing there. I'm not humming anything from the from the game. Nothing is stuck in my mind. It definitely did bring me back when I started hearing it, because there aren't a lot of tracks on this soundtrack.
There might not be. Yeah, I don't know how many battle themes there are, but
not many. Like, I feel
it seems like every battle is the same song, right?
Feels like every battle is the same song, and in sort of a close sort of neighbor to the soundtrack is the sound design. And Jesus, will you hear some of these voice clips a lot?
Yeah, when you enter battle and win battles and stuff, you mean?
Yeah, when you enter battles, not only do your characters have something to say, the fucking enemies have something to say.
Yeah.
And then when they fight and they shoot their guns at you, they have something to say almost every time.
Yeah.
And it's the same 3 or 4 things the whole game.
Dude, Tri-Ace has always been the worst at that. Like, it starts from freaking the first Star Ocean, back on the PS1 when there wasn't that much room for, recorded music. They put a whole bunch of freaking battle quotes in there, and they're just like seriously, freaking every time you cast Thunderbolt, it's like Thunderbolt, Thunderbolt, Thunderbolt over and over again.
Yeah, I think those voice clips are honestly, especially from the enemies, are the thing that's stuck in my head, if anything, in this game. Holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah, overall, even though like there's no song I want to burn onto a CD and listen over and over again, really, I kind of felt like the two combination of styles did add the right atmosphere to it, at least.
Yeah, I agree. I think it fits kind of the wild, imaginative setting that we have, which also, and we'll get into it, I guess, is the kind of wild and imaginative gameplay that's taking place here.
That's right, and so that's what we're going to next. We got to talk about the battle system. Oof. So I went ahead and explained like how it works to the audience in my segment because
I bet that was a challenge.
I'm good at teaching, I think.
Okay, all right. I would feel a little challenged if I had to just with words alone explain how to do this game.
I know, right? Because did you redo all the tutorials, or could you remember how it went? I actually could remember.
I didn't want to redo the tutorials, but it was a slow process, and even then, because unless I'm forgetting, the tutorials don't exactly tell you every single way that you can play this game.
They tell you pretty much everything.
They tell you what you need to know to win, but they don't tell you what you need to know to do like really well or to make things a lot easier on yourself.
For me, I remember my first time way back in the day that I spent an hour on those tutorials, and I was like, okay. And I wasn't. When I finally was like going on with the story, I was like, okay, I'm not really sure what I'm doing, even though I read all that. And really, it was just one piece of information that I hadn't really thought of and that I wanted to be told, I thought. And that was, you're supposed to do freaking hero runs all the time. Like,
okay.
Because if you run out of hero gauge, you die, basically. And using the hero run uses the gauge, so I'll only use those when like on bosses and stuff is what I was thinking. But if you just stand there, hit the attack button, like for the first mini battles I was doing that, I was like, this is not really going smoothly at all. So that was really the only thing I needed to be told extra.
Gotcha.
How about you?
So I'll tell you and this is like, so how long, you couldn't have gotten very far before you figured that out, right?
Maybe I played like that for an hour or two.
Okay, all right. I got an embarrassingly long way until I realized that I was kind of fundamentally like handicapping myself in a lot of ways, because I thought, so when you start out the game, a battle, you have Vacheron in the middle, Zephyr on the left, and Leanne on the right.
Yes.
And they're positioned so that Vacheron is slightly ahead of the two, or behind the two.
Behind the two, yeah.
So when he goes to make a hero run, it counts as a pass.
Yeah, I didn't mention that in the. Can I explain that real quick? I didn't mention that part. Yeah, so one of the additional abilities you can do in this battle system is every time somebody runs and guns at the same time, if they pass between the other two characters, they get a resonance point, and which you can do that multiple times. And if you have 3 or 4 of them, you can do what's called a tri-attack, where all 3 of your characters run around in circles and hit the enemy. So it's good to use those up. But if you have anyone make any movements other than a hero run, than the running and gunning thing, they lose those points. So you have to kind of plan it out. You can't like move this guy over to the left a little bit and then do it. You'll just lose points doing that. So go ahead, Mel.
So what I was like, all right, so I didn't realize that you could press the right and left shoulder button to choose who you start with.
You thought you had to.
But I thought, I was like, oh, well, okay, fine. Instead, what I'll do is because I didn't know you could do that, is I was pressing the circle button or the B button, whatever controller you're using, to cancel their turn.
Yeah, but you lose one resonance point for doing that.
Well, if you have no resonance points, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So what I was doing at the start of every battle, because different people had different weapons, and that gets into another thing, but I was canceling Vacheron's turn to pass it to Zephyr, having Zephyr move in between to start a hero run the way Vacheron would, sort of. And then, because they had different weapons at different times, it's like, well, this is the only way I can do it. And then other times, whenever you set up a hero run, like you're in a triangle, you pass each other at least twice. so you have enough points to do like a decent triangle. Like 2 points is usually enough to get off like a decent enough hits to make it worth it, right?
Yeah, totally.
So if I ended that with, for example, someone who had grenades, but they had really rare grenades, or they had really rare ammo equipped, I was like, well, I'm boned. I'm going to waste this ammo if I start this try attack now, because I'm already selected on this person, and I can't go back to that person or I'll blow all my points.
Not only could you have used the L and R buttons to switch characters, you also could have pressed a button to change the ammo too.
Yeah. Well, not only that, imagine you're at the last turn and it's like Leanne's turn and the other 2 guys already went. You can press triangle to do the try attack. Mm-hmm. Then you can press L and R to start the try attack with whoever you want.
Yes, you could do that.
I didn't know that. Yeah. I knew you could change the direction of the attack, like what way they run. I knew that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know I could then freely go and start it with whoever I wanted, change what they were equipped with, and then start the attack with like the correct weapons. Because there's a way that you should really be doing this.
There is. And also, even while they're running, you can switch to the other character also.
That I also didn't know. I found that out. I never found that out myself. I actually found that out after I beat the game, and I wanted to see how someone was like kind of doing the game like the quote real way.
Yeah.
And I noticed like during try attacks, he was like swapping dudes. I was like, what the fuck?
Oh man.
And the game doesn't tell you this.
Okay.
Like you have to, I guess, press the buttons on your own and kind of figure it out like a real adult. Like I don't know, but I was like that. If I knew that earlier on, this game would have been a lot easier. Maybe not like crazy easier, but it would have been less cumbersome. But the thing also, and on my first playthrough, I know I wasn't doing this, is that you really have to sort of swap out everyone's roles in the fight to level them up more quickly.
Yeah, so let me explain that to the audience too.
Go ahead.
So your character, the max level in this game is 300, and the way it works is you deal damage. You don't even have to kill the enemy. Just you deal damage with the machine gun. Your machine gun level goes up, and the max level for machine guns and handguns and grenades for any of them is 100 each. So you level all 3 of those abilities up to level 100 each, and the max level will be 300. So which means, but you don't go up levels in handguns unless you use handguns. So you have to switch their weapons around, rotate them throughout the story and stuff.
And you can dual wield, which they do tell you at one point, tell you. But not like super directly. They're like, "Why don't you try it?" Burr, burr, burr. And it was like in a cutscene. It wasn't a tutorial.
It was a cutscene. I thought that was cool. They're like freaking.
It was.
What was it like? I guess he hands Zephyr an extra gun,
an extra pistol or something.
Yeah, and he's like, I didn't know you could even use 2 guns. And then Vashon's like, twice the guns, twice the bullets, yo.
Yeah, exactly. And you can do 2 of the same gun type. So you already explained, I assume, that there are pistols and there are machine guns.
Those are 2 guns. That's right. And there's scratch damage and direct damage.
Direct damage, right. So you can have 2 machine guns, submachine guns, whatever they're called, and do the blue damage, the scratch damage.
Yeah.
And there is a penalty to dual wielding. All the gun stats do take sort of a penalty.
They average, right?
They average out. So you're not adding the stats on this gun. You're not like multiplying. You're not doubling your attack, basically.
Well, no, you basically are. So the charge speed, like the aiming speed or whatever, that gets evened out. It doesn't get doubled. That's right. It gets averaged out. But the bullets, you get double the bullets.
Yeah, there's double the bullets. So that definitely goes a long way to making your character more potent in whatever. I don't know about you, but I found it way, way more useful to double up on a machine gun than the pistols.
I found them both very useful to double up on.
Because I never found, like, direct damage. I was like, I don't care how much direct damage I'm doing. All I need to do is 1 point of damage. I just got to get on the scoreboard.
Oh, right.
because if they're all scratched up, then you just do any damage and it can't, like, all of it ticks over to direct damage.
Yeah, that's right. You only have to do a single point, but I don't know.
Maybe if it levels you faster in handguns so that your character level goes up, which means their HP goes up. That's really the key. And then their weight capacity to add more fucking scopes and shit on their gun goes up.
Yeah. Yeah, that goes up. But I don't know. Like, it's useful to have lots of bullets because, for example, later in the game, enemies have lots of different armor parts on them guarding their main body, and they don't die until you hit the main body. Yep. And but if you run and shoot them, just hero run forward and shoot them, you'll hit whatever's only in front of you. But if you jump into the air, you will randomly, like, it still calculates whether it hit the enemy, just depending on it, whether it flew straight forward and hit him or not. But then once it hits him, it doesn't actually count as hitting the spot right in front of them. It hits random parts of the body when you're in the air, which is interesting.
Yeah, it is. I almost always jumped whenever it was, like, possible. Like, jumping is the key.
Super useful, yeah.
This game. It's super useful. And yeah, so I guess you so there's two bonuses when you do hero mode. There's knockdown and then there's, like, knock up.
Yeah, those things can happen too. But I just want to say that the reason, like, more bullets for handguns and more damage for handguns can be useful. Well, not more damage, just more bullets is basically because when you're in the air, it's unlikely, but it is possible that you scratch damage the hell out of a whole bunch of different armor plates on this one enemy, and then when you fly through to go and, like, turn them all into direct damage and actually break them off their body, it is possible because it's kind of randomly decided where the bullets will hit. You miss a couple parts that are completely scratch damaged, and they just sit there remaining. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
But if you have more bullets, that's less likely to happen.
That's true. So you do want to be producing more bullets whenever you can. That's a pretty valuable, especially for handguns. It's valuable in that way. But I always way favored machine guns because, like, that's where all the work is being done. In my opinion, I was like, that's
it totally is. It totally
is. That's
the
workhorse. Grenades are just for leveling up your character, and some grenades are, like, OP. So that's, like, the last ditch, thing that I would equip. But you have to take up a slot for that, so you can't double up the equipment, and you also can't carry items, which I almost never used.
Items, you mean? Well, no. I always had somebody using the items be just for one thing.
The escape hex?
The escape hex, so you can just instantly warp out of a dungeon. You don't have that. You gotta walk your ass back out, man.
I made that mistake a couple times. I got way deep into a dungeon that I was like, I need to go here because some mission, whatever, and I was like, oh, fuck me, I didn't bring, because you can't change equipment when you're in the dungeon.
Yeah, that's right.
And all the rooms repopulate when you go at least one room away, and some of them even when you just go away once.
To the next room, yeah.
Yeah, to the next room. But if you need to, you can kind of get away pretty easy. Like, it's not too hard to just get the hell out.
Yeah, worst case scenario, you can use a hero gauge you can use a shard, one of the hero gauge units.
But you might run out. Like, I got myself into a pinch where I was almost out, and then I was like, oh, I have one bezel, so I can't use it. Otherwise, I'll go into, like, panic mode, and which is what happens when you run out of hero shards. Your characters get panicked, and you can basically do nothing.
You just die, yeah. It's so unlikely to recover from the panic mode.
I've done it.
I have too, but it's rare.
You have to be like, it has to be a guarantee. Like, you have to almost have basically killed them anyway.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, so you don't want to do that. So I was like, fuck, I have to run on foot, which is slow, like really slow.
Kinda, yeah.
And I was taking all kinds of damage. You can only go so far before your turn ends. But yeah, the combat in this game, I was able to kind of get back into it pretty quickly. Like, a lot of it clicked back into place. Like, oh yeah, that's how you do this, that's how you do that. And like I said, I had a couple like funny gaffes where I didn't realize you could switch characters on the fly and whatever. But I thought it was really fun to pick up and get back into when I was playing, especially like if I took a little break, like maybe I didn't play for a day or two and I'd come back to it. But if I had to play this game for like over an hour, it would get really tedious.
Yeah. So I mentioned that in my segment that it is admittedly very repetitive because basically the main... I mean, we've said all the things. There's a lot of things you can do in a single battle, which sounds impressive, but you do those things in every battle. And so basically the way is you just machine gun the hell out of a guy and then handgun the hell out of a guy and then repeat for everybody. And if it's one of those battles where there's no leader, you have to kill every individual enemy. And it's not very easy to kill 2 or 3 guys in a single turn in this game.
No, it's not. I mean, you can do it. So what I often did was I had 2 people with machine guns and 1 person with a handgun, and I would try to take out as many dudes with the handgun as I possibly could. But, and again, maybe I'm doing something wrong because I think I saw a video of someone switching targets better than I was. Switching targets when you're in a hero run is really hard.
It's so hard.
But I think I saw a video of someone like basically freezing time during a hero run, and I don't know how he did it.
Well, I know that when you switch the target, like
it slows down a bit.
Yeah, a bit.
But you don't know what direction to press, and you only have a finite amount of like space to run.
Yes.
So you're like switch. Oh, that's a barrel. Oh, that's a wall. Oh, that's a dude I don't want to target.
Yeah.
You know. And pressing up and down and left and right almost doesn't matter. It's like whatever the game wants is where you're going to go with the target.
Yeah, I watched
You can't control the camera.
Yeah, not during the
hero run. You can, but it almost doesn't matter. Like it's weird.
I don't think you can. I think you can only look at whatever you're targeting, and so
you're right. Yeah, during the run. Yeah,
during the run. I watched the one speed run of it that's out there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, they don't have to do that much to win either. It's pretty cool. But
yeah, I did see a guy like with like crazy end game gear that I definitely didn't get. I was like, man, you can just get buck wild with this game.
Yeah, that's the Trice always like makes the last dungeon like puts the craziest freak, just turns it up to 11 in the bonus dungeon. Every Trice game has a bonus dungeon, and every character can be turned up to 11 if you clear that thing. But goddamn, I went in there after this playthrough, and I even grinded a little bit during the story, and I still could not fight just the first enemies in that dungeon because just they're strong, man. But what did I want to say? So in that speed run, freaking the guy was talking about, you know, sometimes you can do all the exact same inputs in a battle and be in the exact same positions. And still, if you push whichever direction button, it won't always target the same person you expect. Like, that was the thing that he complained about during the speedrun, is that the changing the targets is too hard. And I figured out a way in my mind to do it where basically you didn't even have to like add this difficult function of freezing time or anything. All you have to do is just like let you push, let's say, the L3 button where you press down the analog stick. Just like you click it on one guy, and then a number 1 pops over their head, and then you click it on another guy, and a number 2 pops over their head.
What?
Wouldn't that be the awesomest thing? And then it.
I thought you were saying that was a thing that did happen.
No. This is how you could fix it, is what I'm saying. Wouldn't that be amazing? I know, right?
Holy shit!
I was blowing your mind just now.
I know. I thought you were like fucking giving me some deep secrets on this game.
No. That's what I would have done.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be really cool.
Yeah. So that would have been a useful addition. But overall, the thing that just really impresses me is how they turned this totally action-y gun battle system, into a very controllable, you know, besides the targeting anyway, a very controlled fully turn-based RPG. No AI or anything to worry about, right?
Yes. That is one of the reasons I was very happy with this game for like as long as I was, because it is kind of a repetitive grind, but you have control over everything. And a lot of times I caught myself kind of laughing to myself, like imagining someone watching what I'm doing, and here I am like 30 hours into this game, just like look at this screen right now and tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
And just like laughing, like, and I'm just sitting there thinking, like, what the fuck am I doing right now? What is happening on the screen? I know what it is, but it's crazy that I know what it is. It's a really cool, like how you come up with a system like this.
Only Tri-Ace could have done it, man. It's insane, right? Yeah,
the systems that are involved are pretty complicated. Like the overall execution on this, it's not actually that hard a game to do well at. It's not like you have to be you're not playing chess here, but there are a lot of layered systems that govern all the little details of what goes on. It's a complicated battle system for sure.
Mm-hmm. How was the difficulty for you through the campaign? Like, did you ever have to stop and grind or do anything?
Oh, I definitely got my ass handed to me and lost some progress, like a couple chunks of progress, like at one or two spots, because I entered a battle I couldn't win.
Oh, and you can't exit out of it.
You can't exit without losing all of your money. Or you can't reset. So, I don't know if you touched on it, but if you die, you can reset with the same amount of bezel shards full as you came into the battle with for some
like
nominal
1,000 or
money.
2,000, yeah.
Yeah. Or you can refill all your hero bezels, which is a thing that lets you do hero runs, and I think fill your HP gauge as well for all your money minus one. So you can have one whatever dollar left that left over if you really fucking want to do that. And I don't. So I never did that.
Yeah. It's a rare thing to have to do, though, because usually you enter battles fully healed, everything ready.
I guess I don't know what happened, if I really just was under-leveled enough or I wasn't doing the right thing or whatever it was. There was a couple of those like challenge battles with the red hexes.
Yeah, I had one like that too.
And yeah.
There's one kind of early game, and I was like level 40-something, and the enemy was like level 75. And I was like, there's no freaking way I'm going to do all that stuff that I already did before this over again. So I just like fought that guy like 10 times and somehow managed to find a way.
Yeah, I think I may have done a very similar thing, maybe even with the same one of those challenge guys that has like the doll on it.
Yeah, it's one of those guys, I think.
Yeah. So is it the dude who does like the big arm slam, like he does like the arm drop on you? Those like tall golem troll looking dudes.
The duellists.
Wellists, yeah.
Not the arm slam, but they jump into the air and then land their whole body on you, right?
They land. They do like a body slam.
Yeah, though it was those guys. Yes.
Yeah, I think we had the same problem.
Probably.
Because I think there is a difficulty spike in the game around about there. The game difficulty in this game is like pretty reasonable. Like you're gonna have to try. Unless you grind and you really know how to like exploit the battle system. If you played it once before, in my opinion, this game's a little tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you definitely need to. One thing that is easy to, I think, get people messed up is just the fact that you do have to switch around the weapons so that they level up their HP, because
that's very important.
If you can't survive an attack, then that's the problem.
Yeah,
right
it's unavoidable. You're gonna get wailed on by these guys. They're just gonna dump all of their attacks into at least one of your party members for a while. So they have to have the HP to stand up to this, and also you have to be doing at least some of the side quests to have the accessories that cut down damage to some amount.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which leads me to a question I guess I quickly have for you. Did you ever take off the auto trigger?
I decided not to use it.
You didn't use it? I kept it on all my characters the whole game.
So what the auto trigger does is, when you do the hero run, you run from wherever you are to the other end of the stage, and you shoot guys along the way. But you have to wait for your aiming to charge up, so to speak. And so once you get near what you want to do is let it just aim and aim and aim and aim, and then let out all your bullets all at once with your best possible aim way at the end of the run. But if you, by mistake, happen to not press the button before stopping at the end, you just lose the turn.
It's over. And the auto trigger will use whatever charges you have at the end of your run.
That's right.
Even if it's just one charge.
Yeah.
Which can sometimes be a little annoying because it's a waste of time, but it's not like there's ammo in the game. There's no ammo unless you equip special ammo.
Yeah.
But, so you might want to turn it off for that reason. More likely, you probably want to not have it on because you want to put another accessory that gives you better defense or better buffs.
Yeah, that's what I wanted, so I didn't use that thing.
Yeah, I left it on. I guess I was finding myself having a harder time because of it in hindsight, but because some of those accessories are like cuts physical damage by 30%.
That's a lot, right? Yeah.
It's a lot.
I know, right?
Yeah. So yeah.
Did you? It sounds like you did some side quests. Did you do lots of them, or what did you do?
I think I did all of the missions that I found on the mission board.
That's like all the quests, man. Yeah.
I don't know that's all of them because sometimes new missions showed up on different mission boards.
No. It wasn't because it was a different mission board. It was just because you maybe did another mission. So like,
and it checked again. Okay.
Yeah. So like, there are only a few chapters where that happens, but like there are a few chapters where you can go to the mission board and get like 3 missions, including the main story mission. You can do all those missions, and then if you go back to the board after you've done those, there'll be a couple more.
Yeah, I definitely did that. So I must have done all of them. I'll tell you what I didn't do: the fucking battle arena.
Oh my god, you don't want to do the fucking battle arena.
I do not. I don't. You earn like pennies.
No, you get lots of. Well,
maybe eventually, maybe in a couple years.
Yeah.
But fucking, they hand it out real slow, and they make you kill a lot of the same fucking enemy a lot.
There are 50 battles in the arena, which doesn't sound like too much to me. It sounds like a good number, but then the thing is, to open up the next...
Wait. There are 50 tiers.
50 Well, listen, 50 battles, let's say, in there. And then, but the thing is, you're not allowed to open up the next battle until you beat the previous battle 3 times.
Yes.
And you can't get a star next to the thing and get the platinum trophy unless you've beaten each battle 10 times for a total of 500 battles, and none of those battles have leaders. When there's a leader, you can just kill the leader and the battle is over, but there's no leader, you got to kill everybody individually.
Yep. So let's say every battle is about 5 minutes if you're really fucking fast.
It doesn't take 5 minutes to do one battle, does it?
Okay, 3 minutes?
Let's say 3.
Times 500 divided by 60. That's 25 hours.
Of
just that shitty-ass battle arena.
Yeah, exactly. I mentioned that this is like the worst game to 100%.
Oh my god!
It's basically just because of the arena.
It's so bad. Like, I remember trying to do it when I first played this game, and I was like, I don't... Because it unlocks progressively. If you're really on it, you're on top of it. You're like, I did all the battle arenas I can for this chapter. Time to move on to the next chapter. I did everything in the chapter. And then the next chapter happens, and you're like, I guess I'll do the battle arena at the end of the chapter. And then you go and do the chapter, and you do all the interesting things. And then you're stuck with, like, I can move on to the next chapter. Or I can do these 10 fucking battles or 20 battles or whatever.
And
then you're like, I'll do it next chapter. And now you have 40 battles, and you just never do them.
Exactly.
When the unlocks for it, I'm sure I looked down the list, and some of them I don't think I really understood all the way. I think there's a couple guns you can get in the game through the battle. Maybe a couple cool, like, ultimate items or some shit, but none of it looked compelling.
The best stuff you can get, I mean, there's some useful, I think you can get freaking experience trainer accessory, which is the one that increases how much experience points you get from shooting guys. Yeah. And I went all out because my plan originally was to go ahead and platinumize it, but and so I did. Another really freaking awesome thing in this game that I really love that Triace does this. They started doing this since Valkyria Profile 2, and I think that's why that's probably my favorite RPG battle system ever. But in this one, they have this thing where there are these terminals throughout the cities, and you can use colored... I explained it kind of, but they're like the whole world map is made up of hexagons, but they're like hard blocks that you can't walk across until you unlock them with these hexagon pieces that are in your inventory. Mm-hmm. But some of the hexagon pieces in your inventory have colors, and if you can link the floor turns whatever color you use on it. So you can go to these terminals, these like power station kind of places where it says like this station has a effect of experience times 2 or knock into the air rate times 2 and all these different things. And so I just went ahead and grinded for all colored hexes that I could. And I freaking let me think, because the arena has the most useful ones that you can do. I connected to the arena to make it the most worthwhile. I think times 1.5 experience times double all the effects of all terminals, and then increase your regular item drop rate, increase your rare item drop rate, and
Oh boy, yeah.
So that was kind of cool. But even knowing that you're getting all this crazy stuff and more experience, it just freaking wears you down, and it's not fun.
It wears you down, and you're really actually not getting that much crazy stuff. You're just getting gold chips and silver chips, which you sell for some money.
That's right, yes. So,
you're really, if the enemy has a rare drop, it's a gold chip.
No. That usually the rare drops are the hexes for unlocking the world map, and the gold chips are like the rare drop if you get a bonus shot when they're in midair.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is crazy. Getting the timing on that bonus shot, it's hard. It's not...
It's easy. What do you mean?
What are you talking about?
You knock them into the air, and... you mean to get the shot, to get the chance to shoot him. Yeah, this freaking gauge goes around.
Land that dial, because the little spinning dial goes around and around, and the more you hit them, the wider the success range is. But you got to hit them a lot, and you got to land the shots. And it's not always feasible to make it a really wide. But also, the timing on that button press is deceptive because it doesn't stop when you press the button.
Yeah, it stops a little bit after.
It stops a little after, and it's already moving pretty fast. I almost go into a small panic whenever I see it pop up.
I usually don't worry about it and just go ahead and fill it up more so I can increase the success range, and then it's easy.
True, but I want to make sure I'm doing it with a guy with a machine gun because it means more usually.
Yeah,
and
that's the good damage.
It's more useful. Yeah, it's the good damage, and that's the more bullets. So if I do it with a dude with a gun, a handgun, I'm like, I don't want to do it with that. Or someone with a, well, you can't do it with a grenade, but so I'm trying to save it for the right person. It's stressful.
I really think that they wouldn't have made this battle system if they had not made the battle system that they did for Valkyrie Profile 2. And they wouldn't have made that battle system if they hadn't made the battle system they made for Valkyrie Profile 1. They really built up upon it, and they created this really, really unique thing. Because in Valkyrie Profile 2, enemies have... It's PS2. Enemies have body parts, and you can break them off if you just stand in the right spot. You can't run and jump and shoot guns and stuff, but you line yourself up to aim at the part of their body you want to hit, and you have high attacks and low attacks, and you use all those things the correct way, and you can hit the part you want to hit. And the way it works is just quickly you push the button, and your guy attacks, and you have 4 guys, and you have 4 face buttons, and so you can just mash them if they, and hopefully none of the attacks miss, or you can carefully plan out who should hit when so that no attacks miss or whatever. And then when you break the part off, there's some small percentage that you'll enter break mode, where it's kind of like that bonus shot where basically you have a small amount of time to just wail on him for the enemy freely with all your characters infinitely. It's so fun. It's yeah, I'm getting you, yeah. It's so amazing. And I'm telling you, man, some of the coolest, most unique battle systems ever are from Tri-Ace, yo.
Yeah, I'm beginning to understand this more and more.
Yeah,
I gotta just repeat it again. The conceiving of this battle system, I think, must have involved some kind of drug. It's so wild. I would never put all this together, and I feel like I'm a fairly creative guy, and just coming up with all these systems and making them fit together. And then also, we really haven't stressed the kind of fun, like ridiculousness of the setting and the concept of the battle system with these gun attachments. And I'm sure you touched on it in your script.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that. How much did you customize your gun? How many scopes did you put on it?
Oh boy, I mean that's hard to like as many as I could. Like fucking at some point, and it's probably because I wasn't like the customization system does get a little daunting, a little cumbersome once you've already gotten like full into it. Having to undo and like re-customize your guns gets a little fucking, and then you get a new gun. There's a couple new guns in this game. There's like maybe 3 or 4 extra guns that you can get, and you come in with a new gun where the base stats are like better to some degree or sort of whatever, and then it's like, well, do I really want to like figure out this fucking insane configuration all over again with this other gun? I mean, I guess this one has more slots on it and it whatever. So I did that a couple times, but at some point, like not all the way through the game, like maybe or 3/4 of the way through the game, I just stopped customizing my shit, which I guess I noticed toward the end because it really was kind of a pain. At the very last dungeon in particular, like those guys were bullet sponges, and I was like, I bet I'm not doing this right. I was able to win, but I was like, I think this is taking too long. Like I was able to get there by using like crazy OP ammo I was saving up, or OP like grenades that do like all the damage. Although I have to say, more than a couple times, I blew through some very valuable ammo because I forgot I had it equipped.
Oh man.
And it gets used every time, and it had like 50 of the machine gun ammo that like pierces targets and basically is guaranteed to do like all the damage. And I think I wasted all of that.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I didn't even bother using a lot of those things until like near the end of the game. No, yeah. I there were a few times, but mostly I never bothered using that stuff. Maybe I should have used it more, but you got to just fight and fight and fight to get all the items, and then take them to the not the tinkerer, the guy who breaks it down, the scrapper, scrap all of the items that are good for scrapping, sell all the items that are good for selling, and then go to like the tinkerer and have him, make a bunch of ammo for you and stuff. And like you have to fight more to fight better.
Find anything good, you know where to find me. Oh my god. That's another thing. Is those guys say the same fucking thing every time you go into and out of their shop.
Yeah.
And you have to go back and forth a lot.
Yeah, there aren't that many locations in this game, and then some of them get reused over and over again because you have to go to Chandelier, the place where all the rich people live, over and over again.
Yeah, you do. But yeah, that customization process, to sort of answer your question, I really love it. Because it's insane.
It's insane.
Where you go in and you just add scopes on scopes on scopes, and then you add barrels on fucking hand grips on barrels on hand grips.
Yep.
And for some reason that makes your gun more accurate, or your gun will have like 16 barrels and fucking hand grips on barrels, and none of it makes any sense. And there's scopes in front of scopes, but you understand it, like, oh, this scope makes your gun more accurate, so 3 of them makes it 3 times, right?
Exactly. That's exactly how it works. I know.
Which is great. I love it. I love that they're just like, fuck it, like, guns, whatever. Yeah, all right. And then it's not reflected in the game at all.
Yeah, you can't see. That would be
crazy.
Can't
see any of that?
If you could see it on the guns.
I know. So, and the barrels are all pointing weird ways. Like, it doesn't even matter. So
they're not. The barrels aren't connected to where the bullet comes out. Even
no, they're connected to a hand grip.
Yeah.
And some of the individual barrel pieces are just 3 barrels that are just loose.
Yeah, I know.
So they're fully aware of how ridiculous this is supposed to look toward the end, but they never address it.
It's not in the story, yeah.
They never directly address it outside of that customization menu. It's just like, I guess I'm doing this. Sure, I love it.
Well, how did you want them to address it?
I don't know, because it's really crazy. I don't know how they would, though, but either, like, to your point, I don't know, what would they do?
They would do exactly what they did with the freaking with the 2 guns cutscene, where they'd be like, here's an extra scope. And he's like, I didn't know you could use 2 scopes on a single gun. Twice the scopes, twice the aiming power.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's fun. I think that's one of the standout sort of things that most people think of when they think of this game, if they've played it. That the battle system, the world sort of design. But I guess, not to lead the discussion, but I guess the other thing that they would probably think about is the fucking batshit story.
Yep, you've led it. So, I mean, that's basically all that's left is the characters and the story. Let's go characters first. There are like 3 characters in games that I have seen in this world, in all of my games, that I thought they were believably cool, but at this, like, I could believe that there's a person as cool as that, but at the same time, I don't know, is there really anybody as cool as this person? And those 3 characters are Yuri from Tales of Vesperia, ridiculously cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't mean like cool as in he's your type or anything, like you love him, just he's a badass.
Yeah, he's a cool character.
Yeah. You know, in the classic word meaning of the word cool.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah. You know, he's super, what's the word I'm looking for? Competent and super cool and even a nice guy. The guy, the other guy who's also named Yuri from Shadow Hearts Covenant.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
Freaking cool guy. Freaking cool guy.
Yeah, he's another cool guy. Yeah.
And freaking Vacheron is like the top of the list for me.
He's
even cooler in Japanese, I would say. You know, his voice actor in English is kind of bland, as we said.
Yeah, he is.
But like, man, so many freaking comedic moments with him, and they're all better in Japanese. But yeah, I don't know, just the coolest guy in the world, it seems. You know, he walks around this freaking tower, religious fanatic, freaking, you know, city that he lives in freaking cowboy gear.
Yeah, he seems to be like, everyone knows who he is, and he seems to know that everyone knows who he is. And he's like this, like, very seasoned mercenary. So he's got a lot of cool points for sure.
Anything to say about any of the characters, like the main characters?
I think really Vacheron is the one that you could really kind of discuss the most. Like, Zephyr is an emotional, angsty guy.
Yeah.
He's got sort of a reason for it, though. But it's not a reason I gave a shit about. And Leanne is the mysterious plot girl.
Yeah. The mysterious plot girl. And they have a love interest between her and Zephyr, so that's cool.
That's true. Sort of, but yeah, you're right.
They never really get into it, but yeah.
They don't really get into it. It's almost more like a weird brother-sister thing in a way, I thought.
I don't think it's that. I think it's going to be full-on love eventually.
I think that's the idea, but they almost felt more like a family unit. Like Vacheron was sort of like the disheveled, divorced dad, and the other 2 were the kids. Like, there was definitely that dynamic, at least some of the way.
Oh, he even says there's like that one scene where Zephyr and Leanne take a job, just the 2 of them, and in that job they have to pretend to get married.
Oh yeah.
And then freaking, it turns out Vacheron took like the opposite side of that job. Somebody wanted to
sabotage the wedding
the wedding, and he comes in and he's like, freaking Vacheron's like, Daddy does not approve.
He does have some good lines. Like, the writing isn't bad. I just wish I knew what the fuck was going on, at least some of the time.
Okay, so let's talk the story, because after I look stuff up, I kind of know what's going on.
Okay, I figured this was going to be the case where I was like, I bet if I just, like, stood back and absorbed the story, like, in a cogent manner, not so disjointed, maybe, or whatever. I read a synopsis. It's not that I didn't think the story wasn't there. It's just like
they don't go into stuff.
Every turn, I never knew what the fuck anyone was talking about ever.
Yeah. So like, opening scene is important, right? So the opening scene. I already told the audience in my section like what you can learn just by playing the game, but there's still all these questions. But opening scene, it's got a cool Motori Sakuraba prog rock song, and freaking Vacheron looks like a badass, goes into a seminary that has been all shot up by this guy who has machine guns. And so I guess Vacheron was hired by the cardinal who was running that seminary to take out the guy who just shot up the place, killed all the kids that lived there and everything. Terrible, right? Vacheron goes in there, kills the dude. You find out later, you know what you find out later, right?
Wasn't it Zephyr?
That guy was actually Zephyr, yeah. And you also find out later, because what they do, the last scene of that scene, I didn't think they would go that far, but the last scene of that video, freaking Vacheron puts his gun into Zephyr's mouth. And then, of course, they don't show it. They pan up, and then you hear the pa-pa, 2 bullets. And you think, okay, maybe he got out of it somehow, or he couldn't go through with it or something. Turns out he did go through with it. He did shoot Zephyr, and Zephyr didn't die. Do you know why that is?
Something, quartz crystal, something, magic.
It's the quartz thing, yeah. So, there's that, basically, to put it quickly, his quartz wasn't timed to be broken. So he didn't die. It's simple as that.
Okay.
And did you watch that one? I freaking love the one scene where if you just don't press anything during the title screen, a couple scenes start playing. Did you watch any of those?
Not this time through. No.
Oh man, it's such a cool scene. Freaking. So 2 of the villains, if you can call them that, Rowan and Sullivan, right? Freaking Sullivan's like, hey. You're the cardinal who rules this place now because prelate Frida died. So for now, until we have a new prelate, you're the boss. Let me show you our god, because the whole thing in this tower is that all the high-ranking people are religious people, and religion kind of runs this society. And he thought, I guess Rowan thought that we all had faith in God, and God was choosing our fates for us. It turns out this gigantic machine that was built into this tower 1,000 years ago when the tower was built, called the Zenith, is the quote-unquote God, the thing that decides when people die. And freaking Rowan sees that, and he goes out of his goddamn mind. Like, no, how can I continue leading the people in the name of faith now that I've seen this? Like that. And it's really cool and really dramatic, and I really enjoyed it. So that machine, the Zenith, controls who dies when completely all the time.
So they live in a giant death clock is basically what I'm gathering here. So they don't just live in a clock. They live in a clock that's like
counting down
a doomsday clock.
I guess so, yeah. That counts down when they're going to die. And
I guess that makes a lot of sense now that I kind of put that into focus.
Yeah, and so that machine Zenith or whatever that links everyone's life to a piece of quartz, a quartz stone.
Which I don't fully understand.
I don't know how that works either. But.
Like they're like that scene where they're like, "Oh, look, it's a quartz. It's in this cave." I'm like, "You guys are like thousands of feet in the air in a machine. How are you in a cave?" Right?
I don't know how the quartz was put there. I don't know that.
Like, what? It's not a cave. What's going on?
It's probably man-made, right? Because, I
guess.
I mean, it has to be that
Must be.
The reason people in this tower don't die from any diseases is that all their life is put into the quartz, and so nothing can kill them.
So is the implication that this tower is actually man-made, or is it God-made?
No. That tower, there was some... So I don't think they said it in the game, but I was, reading up some stuff. And no, somebody built that tower 1,000 years ago to deal with all the cancer that was on the Earth. Some human built this and designed it, and then lots of humans built it together, of course.
Oh, okay.
So one guy designed it, yeah. And it was just for the purpose to escape all the pollution down on the surface. And
okay.
Yeah, so it's possible, it's not a natural cave, but it's possible somebody just got all those quartzes together and put them in there, maybe. That's what I always
So is this also supposed to be where all the remaining humans on Earth or whatever are living?
There are a bunch of people... It's so confusing, because they don't tell you a lot, but everybody wants to go live in there, but there's space restrictions, obviously.
Oh, sure.
And so not everybody could go in there. And so when they finally decided to close the door, okay, we're not accepting any more people into this tower, sorry. All the still people who wanted to come in, who lived on the Earth, couldn't come in, and they just had to live in the pollution. And I guess over that past 1,000 years or so, they evolved. And so now, many of them died, I suppose, but some of them evolved. And an example of like that, what kind of humans now live down there, is that freaking girl with the demon wings that freaking Sullivan had. Remember that girl? And you didn't know who the hell she was?
I didn't know what the hell she was. Yeah,
Me neither. The whole time, like, who the hell? What is she doing? I don't know. But yeah, supposedly that girl is someone from the surface, and they've all evolved to be like her. And now people who live on the Earth's surface are now the ones that lived through it are immortal, I guess, like completely immortal because they don't have quartz either. So that's an interesting thing. And so the whole story, I guess, with Sullivan and Rowan was that Rowan wanted to just do what Frida wanted to do, and that was to free everyone from the fate of God. The quartz thing, I guess. I guess she knew about it. I guess she knew, but Rowan didn't know that it was a machine, maybe. But Sullivan also wanted to do that, but his way was like he was he had that girl from the outside, and he was studying her, I guess, to try to be like her or whatever, in that they can live outside and they don't need quartz. So it's kind of, there's no bad guy really, just
no, there's just like people who have
ambitions.
Other ambitions. Yeah.
Ambitions, but like they're not bad for the world really. But
not really.
And so the way that Sullivan was running the experiment was that he had 20 quartzes and he knew whose they were, and he broke one a year. And then somehow that was going to be also part of the research. And so I don't know what happened at the end. They didn't end up breaking the 20th quartz, which was supposed to be Leanne's one.
Right.
Because they show at the ending that she had her quartz. So somebody gave it to her or took it, and they decided just not to break it. I don't know. Still lots of questions. But I think that's the bulk of it. And so what are we really stopping, though? Like, what are we preventing as we fight to the last boss? And the last boss is being freaking Rowan, right?
I don't know.
Rowan
I don't know why did we kill that guy?
Yeah. I think
then at the very end, past the credits, he shows your characters walking out into like a meadow.
Into like the normal Earth, I guess, right? And freaking Leanne has her quartz with her again. So yeah, I don't know what's up.
So, I mean, once I've this is what I was, like, kind of trying to get was, like, sort of a perspective on the story, because when you're in it and you're just trying to play the game, it's very hard to, like, understand exactly what everyone's saying.
Yeah.
Everyone's very dramatic in that sort of anime way, and everyone's yelling and upset a lot. or they're joking and they're making quips, or there's boobs. And so it's a little hard to like understand what the game is trying to say. But I guess on the other hand, it's not very surprising that a game that features a heavy sort of clock motif is also a game where the plot is very fatalistic, so it's about everyone's sort of time on Earth and what are you going to do when your time runs out and everyone has a set time. And what, are you going to defy that fate? Are you going to, and the Japanese sort of English name, End of Eternity, sort of implies like, a contradiction, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what these characters end up doing, is contradicting like the sort of fatalistic thing that we kind of cornered ourselves into of, oh, we're all going to die, so let's build this thing that defies whatever this natural disease is, and now we're sort of trapped in here, and the idea is that, well, people are dying, they are getting sick, it just took a very long time, and now there's no other way out. And now they're all stuck in this sort of birdcage that they made for themselves.
Yeah.
Where you can't do anything, and you're in this sort of machine, sort of depressing and soulless, but and it's full of like crime and decay, and all of that crime and decay sort of souping up the tower as it goes. But yeah, I guess once you put it into perspective, that all does kind of line up, in a way. Quartz also is a sort of key material in watchmaking.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like the quartz in a watch is I don't know enough to say exactly what it is, but there is a quartz piece in most timepieces, pocket watches, any kind of mechanical watch that does help regulate the time, like make it regular.
Huh.
Whether it's a wind-up watch that you have to wind that loses its momentum or whatever, but the key is that your watch needs to be regular, otherwise you're going to drift and it's going to lose seconds and you're not going to be keeping time accurately anymore.
Yeah.
But there is some kind of piece in there that has something to do with quartz. So that is another theme that kind of plugs in. So if your quartz breaks, you run out of time. So, that kind of thing.
Huh.
So it makes sense. It's not a total fucking random shit show like it seems when I'm playing the game. And I kind of knew that to be true. I just couldn't have explained it having only played it and not really done any research.
Even after doing the research, it's still kind of confusing.
It doesn't make a lot of sense, even after that. And I think there is something to be said for a game that can't stand on its own legs. Like, if you have to go out and do this sort of like legwork yourself, like the game maybe didn't do the best job. The cutscenes are all like, I always feel like, did I miss something? Was I not paying attention? Who said? Is this person picking up a set? Like, did they skip a cutscene? What did I do? What's he talking about? Who is this person?
Yeah, there's only like a few times when they really give you an answer. Like, they finally tell you, okay, it was Zephyr who shot up the seminary. But they never tell you why he did that. Like, I thought, okay, he's just a criminal. That's what I thought. He's just a bad guy. That's what I thought. And they eventually tell you that it was him, and Vacheron did actually shoot him, but he didn't die because Zenith decided to keep him alive.
So do they get into why he did that?
I don't think they do. I read that...
So is he just like a crazy guy?
I read that like he was one of... Like, all the kids in that seminary were experimented... Oh, maybe they were experimented upon by Sullivan, and maybe freaking... What's his name? No, that's not true. I'm not sure. I don't know who they were. I guess it had to be Sullivan. He's the only one doing experiments in this game. So
sure, yeah.
So he, I guess, experimented on those kids, to try to find the
something
to find the way to break free of the quartz thing, I guess. And like, it's kind of weird. I'm not really sure what its purpose is, but like, you're gonna find out as time goes on. There's that one mission early in the game, and it's like a story mission, but it seems kind of meaningless until I kind of reflect on it now, and that's the one where freaking Cardinal Garigliano wants you to bring him a model that he's going to like take a picture of and then paint later or something, or make a statue of that person. And so freaking you just like paint, freaking Vacheron paints Leanne's face up all flowery with weird face paint, takes him to Garigliano, and I'm thinking this guy is always talking about art, and he walks around carrying a picture frame.
Yeah,
there's no way that this could be like the way to get this mission clear. And he freaking is like, oh my god, it's the most amazing, beautiful person I've ever seen, and there's some dramatic and meaning behind this and that aspect of your face. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And then it turns out, I realized later that actually she looks almost exactly like Prelate Frida.
Yep.
And I didn't really know what the point of that was either at first, but that turns out that all those 20 kids who were going to have their quartz broken one per year were all like attempted clones of Frida.
Yeah, I caught that.
For some reason.
She was part of like a batch of either experiments, or like she wasn't a real person or something. She was definitely some kind of experiment, and she either got away or was let loose or something, and then she was supposed to die, like she had a year left to live, and then she just didn't die or something.
Frida or Leanne?
Leanne.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I thought they were going to break her thing. But then, like I said, at the ending, she's holding her quartz, so they didn't break it. She found it. They gave it to her. I don't know.
So I don't know either.
I guess at that point they figured out that they had succeeded or something because, like we said at the end, freaking Vacheron guys just walk out into the freaking earth, and freaking in the last scene, Sullivan is also just out of the tower on the ground, and he sees that freaking that girl, that demon girl who was supposed. He's always with him the whole time, and he's like, "Hey, I'm like you now," or something. So, I guess like this experiment succeeded or something, but also the ground looked all beautiful in those ending cutscenes. Like it wasn't polluted at all.
Yeah. So, and the ground around the tower, if you ever look around on the overworld, looks like shit.
Yeah. So what happened?
I don't know. Yeah, it's a crazy thing. Yeah, it's interesting. That's the story, I guess.
Did any of you guys understand that?
Yeah, maybe you guys have more insight in on this. If you guys are like big Resonance of Fate buffs,
yeah,
you really know what the hell happened in this video game. Let us know,
please. We're interested.
I'll listen. I don't care. Yeah, that's interesting. So that's the story.
Yep, and I think that does it for this episode. That was pretty interesting talk, I think. Do you have anything else to ask me about this game or say about it?
I'm sure one or two things that I was going to come in, probably, but they've slipped my mind. So I think we can leave it there. I mean, we were pretty thorough in this. This is over. Oh, I remember now. This is it's just a quick thing. This is a mid-tier role-playing game, the likes of which we really just don't see anymore. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's not like a blockbuster. It's not Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
It's not AAA.
It wasn't even Final Fantasy 13, right? When it came out.
It was not. No. I mean, that was another AAA title. That was another blockbuster. I mean, yeah, that was like at the depths of when Japanese development was a thing. But it was still a AAA title. It was a big release. This was not. And there really aren't any turn-based, mid-tier, like kind of average budget games. And maybe they'll come back because, like we've been saying, Japan is on a big uptick. Japan development. Like, I think there's a lot more focus on them. They're kind of hitting it. Like, people like RPGs again. They like, survival horror. Resident Evil's coming back. All these things that Japan is sort of famous for and made its bones with are kind of coming back. Mm-hmm. And people are getting their appetite for it. And development money is starting to flow again. And I would like to hope that, maybe not a Resonance of Fate 2, but in that way, a game in that way is going to come back. A mid-tier, turn-based, sort of Japanese RPG is going to come our way sometime during the PS5 generation.
There'll probably be another, like basically anything that Trace makes these days is the the middle tier budget game. Especially now they're not all that big because Star Ocean 5 was not much of a hit. So whenever they get their chance to make another big console game, it'll probably be around this size or so. Another game that came out that was also published by Sega, and it was a turn-based RPG, and it was, I would say, maybe mid-tier, and also on the PS3 was Valkyria Chronicles, right? So that was
that is true.
About the same time. Like
I feel like that almost stretches the definition. Like I feel like Valkyria Chronicles on the PS3 was kind of a big deal.
It was a big deal because it was a great game, I guess, and it also had its unique art style too. Although this game has it too, but I don't know.
Valkyria Chronicles, 3 or 4, whatever the other one that was recently released, that was like kind of a return to form.
4.
That is definitely a mid-tier game.
It's mid-tier.
That didn't have the same impact. Still a very good game, but like that was not like, hey everyone, talking about this game? Like, nah. No one's talking about that game. It's a good game. You should buy it. Like everyone should play it.
Talking about Valkyria Chronicles 4? Yeah, not really.
Nah.
Yeah, everybody talked about Valkyria Chronicles because I don't think there were that many. That's right. This is the time when people were saying JRPGs were dying, and we're all waiting for Ni no Kuni to save it, right?
Yes, exactly.
That was that time. So, but
that was at the depths of Japanese development in general. That was like when what's his name, Phil Fish or whoever it was like, Japan sucks or whatever he said.
Yeah. He said that, and he got fans angry at him for that.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So this was that time, and I remember, during the beginning of the PS3, they were like, "Yeah, Sega put out a couple of really awesome RPGs," and this was one, and the other one that was more popular was Valkyria Chronicles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know. There'll probably be some more. I mean, there still are mid-tier RPGs out there, but you have to go into, like, I guess the territory of maybe, what's that company? The Idea Factory, I think. Like the guys that make Atelier games and stuff. I think.
I thought you were going to say Tokyo RPG Factory, because that's like Square Enix's sort of like low budget studio team.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So there's that too. But no, I think all the Idea Factory games or Compile Heart games, I think those are all kind of the mid-budget kind of games. We just haven't been playing them, so we don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, there might be some good ones out there. I don't know.
Yeah, but overall, I would say that is definitely what this game is. This is not a AAA, like, going to knock all your socks off. It might knock one sock off, but it's not going to knock them both.
It's not going to knock them both off. Okay, then that does it for this episode of Turn-Based Memories. So thank you, everyone, for listening to us talk about Resonance of Fate. And the next game that we're going to talk about, I don't know when we're going to talk about it, but when it happens, it's going to be one that we both have not really ever played before, sort of, because it's going to be... You can say it, Mel.
It's going to be the Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh, damn.
Oh, damn. So, I mean, this is obviously a game, as of recording, this has not come out. It's probably not going to come out by the time you hear this either. So when is it? April what?
Like,
do we know?
13th?
Do we know off the top of our head? Something like that. Mid-April is when it's going to be on PS4. So I'm going to have to crack off the old PS4 from hibernation. And... but I'm very looking forward to it. Go ahead and watch Zoltan's incredibly detailed critique of this demo.
I did such
it's
a good
really
job.
good. I watched a good amount of it right before. I meant to watch it earlier, but it's really good. It seems to be getting some traction. A lot of other people really like it. So let us know what you think about that.
Definitely.
I think Zoltan did a very lovely job.
Thanks. Yeah, go finish watching it and then critique me on it. Critique my critique.
I look forward to that hour-long video.
Well, you don't have to do that, but
No.
yeah. So look forward to the Final Fantasy VII Remake episode that we do in God knows how many months from now. Freaking Mel is having crazy stuff happening at work, and
oh my god, yeah.
So
without getting into any details, all this crazy
he's getting
virus
busy.
stuff is just like nuts busy at work.
Yeah.
So
there's that, and there's other stuff for him at work, so that's increasing for him. And I'm gonna have way less time than I have right now because coronavirus is gonna be over out here anyway soon. Got to go back to school and teach kids how to speak English and stuff, and that's going to make me busy. And I got to go to the gym. I'm getting goddamn huge. So
oh my god.
That's going to further take up some of my free time. But when we release it, it'll be fun. So look forward to that.
Yeah, I think our mantra at this point is quality over quantity. I think that's fair to say.
Oh, yeah. I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so, too.
That's what we're going for. I did my best to ask some fun questions to Mel for this episode.
Yeah.
So, look forward to that, and I think that's it. No other messages.
Okay.
Spread this podcast to everyone you know who likes RPGs. There you go.
There it is.
All right. Have a nice day, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.